Hey, Kinksters. I'm pleased to say that Sofia Gray has got the perfect gift for you, our favorite friends of the podcast. Starting in March, use the promo code SGSHOW at checkout for 10% off all seller memberships and buyer coins packages on sofiagray.com. That's SGSHOW. Thanks so much for listening, and now on with the show.
The Sofia Gray Show.
Hello, listeners and kinky friends. Welcome to the Sofia Gray Show, where we discuss all things sex, kinks, and fetishes. From the sex stories to the latest trends in the erotic world, we talk taboo transparently. This podcast is brought to you by Sofia Gray, the largest used underwear marketplace. I'm Tracy Bust.
And I'm Lacey Bloom.
And today we are getting into feet.
Yay, feet. First of all, I'm so excited to have you back, Tracy.
I am thrilled to be back. I missed you. I missed this. And I'm happy to be back.
I think our listeners were about ready to hurl themselves off a bridge if they had to listen to one more episode of just
I doubt that.
me.
I doubt it. I don't believe you. 100% you're lying. 100% lying. I am looking at a liar.
But let's talk about feet because what a perfect topic to celebrate your return to the podcast this week.
Stamping back in. Stomping back in. Whatever you do with feet.
Stomp.
Yeah.
Kick through those doors.
Totally. So I feel like in terms of just like, I don't have a foot fetish, but here's the thing. But I enjoy people who have a foot fetish. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because
we've talked about this. I like that.
Yeah. Because I just like, it's all kind of this thing of just enjoying the idea of being worshipped. And it's like, oh, well, whatever you need to worship on me. I don't know if it's like an egotistical thing or if it's like my kink of just like, I like compliments. You know what I mean?
A fetish for foot fetish.
Yeah. A fetish for any fetish. I have fetishphilia. I don't know. It's interesting because like most fetishes or kinks, like feet fetish is a lot. Like there are different aspects to it other than like someone just like looking at feet and just like enjoying feet. There are different details that go into it. According to some of the research at the Kinsey Institute, they have a ratio of how many people have an affinity for feet. And it's kind of high. In my opinion, what do you think that ratio is?
Okay, is it like one, like a
like
certain
one
amount out of
in
100?
Yeah, like one in XYZ, but they're numbers.
One in, I'll say, you know what? I feel like as far as fetishes go, I feel like foot fetish is pretty common. Like I know fetishes in general aren't what we like deem common, but I think in the world of fetishes, I'll say like 1 in 15.
It's 1 in 7.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that a lot?
More. I love that.
Isn't that a lot? I was very surprised about that because it's like, you know, just like based on pop culture or whatever, like it's still so like every once in a while you'll see someone who's like into feet and it's like, it's kind of like weird still, but it's absolutely not weird at all. Like so many people have at least some sort of, you're aroused by affinity.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like feet can be, you know, kind of like what you're into in terms of like, the term is paraphilia, where your sexual arousal, you know, comes from feet and dependent on, you know, a certain aspect. But then it also can be like a casual kink that's just like fun to try out.
I feel like as far as like foot fetishes go to, like, we don't, of course, see fetish or kink represented in mainstream media, like in general.
No.
But I feel like when we do, usually the one fetish that they do talk about are feet fetishes. Like now that I think about like any shows I've seen or movies I've watched where like somebody has a fetish that unfortunately they're usually, you know, made fun of or ridiculed for. I feel like most of the time it's a foot fetish.
Yeah, because I think like people, I mean, it's like people like think of feet as like, well, you're stinky, you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
you know, like I feel like it's like so weird because it's like, it's not tits, it's not a vagina, it's not a dick, it's not an ass. Like, you know, it's not
Right.
anything like affiliated with like I just think people are like, you find feet sexual? Like, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's so common.
Well, and we know that so much of, the reason why people love used underwear is for the smell and the sweat and the juices and everything. In fact, I know this is like so far removed from feet fetish, so excuse me, but I saw in a recent social media post from someone that and I don't know how old the article was, but it was an article about a woman who had a used condom fetish. And she basically had collected used condoms and pinned them up on the wall surrounding her bed and had like labels for each of them for like how old they were and what she knew about each of the people who had worn them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd never heard about that one before. And it made perfect sense to me, though. I was like, if you're into, maybe it's rubber and latex and you also like the smell or the texture of semen, like, of course you would have a used condom fetish. Like, why not?
I bet it's one of those things, too, where, like, maybe more women or men have that fetish than we think, but it's like a weird thing to it's not weird, but it feels weird to the person to kind of like expose it to anyone else. So I give that woman a lot of credit for kind of putting herself out there and like being like,
same,
I have
same.
this. What's interesting is that here's the thing. I am a scientist, so no, I'm kidding. I'm not a scientist, but I just read a sciencey article. Like in your brain, your sensory perception of feeling like satisfied by feet, like being like, just like like feeling the physical satisfaction of having your feet rubbed and the satisfaction of being aroused sexually, those parts of your brain are very close together. So it's like, it's kind of very much related. Here's the thing. Again, guys, not a scientist. I said that like in a very bad way, but like from what I gleaned from the sciencey stuff, that's what I gleaned. And yes.
I mean, I think they're related. Sense.
Yeah.
Like how often, I know whenever I have my feet rubbed by someone, I mean, there's that moment where you, whether you intend to or not, you let out a moan because it feels so good.
Agreed.
Like,
and it feels good for the person who's doing the massaging, like it's a very like, it's intimate too. Like I don't think it necessarily has to do with like full on like fucking, but like, it is like this like intimate, very like sensual kind of act that I imagine that like more people can appreciate, so like with that said, like I know there are many different forms of having a foot fetish or having a kink for feet. It's like some people like licking feet or sucking on toes. Other people like the smell. Other people like to massage them as like a part of worshiping. And these are all like very different specific things, even though it falls under the umbrella of a foot fetish.
Sure.
Some people like feet like decked out in jewelry, like toe rings or anklets, and other people like them bare. Some people like painted nails, and other people like it au naturel. Like it's like very much like a foot fetish is very much is like why is just like there's all these different specific details as like any other fetish of like you're into this but not that, you're into this but not that. And so I feel like that was very eye-opening for me, just because I was like, when I first like was looking into this, I was just like, oh, it's just people who like to massage feet, but it's not. It's absolutely not.
I'm with you. I feel like I didn't really think about how much I like having my feet worshipped by somebody else until we started the pandemic, and I have not had a pedicure in over a year. And that was something that I would do on a regular basis because it felt so good. And I also feel like there was something about it that kind of made me feel, I mean, obviously it feels good, but also it made me feel like, wow, this is something that somebody else is doing for me. Like I'm not. And so I've been trying to resurrect those feelings by
Sure.
taking better care of my feet myself. However,
I
it's
get
not
that.
the same.
No, it's definitely not the same. But I think you actually raised an interesting point because, like, with people, if you are together with a partner or partners, and it's safe to, like, be together physically, and you are interested in bringing up your foot fetish with your partner,
Yes.
there are some ways to do it that like work, and there are also some things that you should avoid. But I feel like this is with bringing up any sort of kink, and I guess maybe this is more of like a reminder to people. But again, when you want to tell your partner about a certain kink, or you want to try a certain kink, do it in a way that doesn't put pressure on them. Like, it's things like, hey, the only way I can get off is like with your feet, so do it. Like, that's
Ouch.
that's pretty intense. And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's such a given with people, and like I feel like the listeners already know that, but I think it's worth repeating.
Well, and I think sometimes maybe you don't realize you're doing it. Like, I mean, I'm coming up on my birthday. I'm
Happy
an
birthday!
Aries.
Happy
know
Aries!
I know how forceful certain things I say can be taken. And so I mean, that's something where I would, if somebody said to me like, "Oh, I don't like the way you said that to me," or maybe there's a better way you could have said that, I have to like check myself on certain things. So yeah, to all of my fire signs out there as well, it could be that that's not your intention, but just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also a thing that you shouldn't bring up during sex. Like, I feel like I've been in situations where like someone's like, do this, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's definitely not like, I get it, I mean, if it's a thing, like if that's your fetish of like you're having sex and it's like you both get off and like, let's try this like right away, great. But like I think like if this is something that you are you want to tell your partner or partners and you haven't yet, like during sex is probably not
do it over a cup of coffee. I mean, like do it in the car on the way to work. Like it's I mean, it'll spice up the conversation, and I feel like it'll give you something to look forward to if they're interested and on board with exploring the kink and fetish with you. Then you have something to say, hey, great, let's try this tonight. Like when we get home, oh my gosh, I'm going to be thinking about this all day long. And even if they're not into it, then you also didn't ruin the mood. Like you're not in the middle of sex and saying, I want to try this, and they say no, that's it. Like, there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that kind of is like a good point where it's like something like you can schedule this talk,
Yeah.
Like, if it's like, oh, you don't like, if it's like not something you want to spring on your partner at the grocery store, but it's like something, unless you want to, unless that's like your thing.
In the vegetable aisle.
Yeah. Like, but if it is something where it's like, oh, let's find the right time to have this talk, just knowing who my partner is, knowing who I am. And also, what's very important is to not be embarrassed. And
yes.
I think that's one of those things that's easier said than done. It takes practice, but I guess just having that reminder that there really is nothing to be embarrassed about, which again, you all know, but I feel like it's one of those things where like, yeah, of course you shouldn't be embarrassed, but when you're bringing this up for with a partner the first time, there is that anxiety, there is that anticipation, and it's understandable. And it's deal with it. I feel like
it's
like,
a part of it.
It's a part of it. And it's like also like this anticipation is also a form of excitement, because like if it's like your partner says yes, or if they want to try it, like that's so exciting. And like and this isn't to say like don't be anxious, but like it's also like accept that there's an anxiety here, and but that's like with any sort of interaction with anyone, and it's fine.
Right.
Yeah. And so like we said, don't put pressure on your partner, that whole thing. But also, you could suggest, if your partner does seem a little overwhelmed, start off small. If it's like starting off with the foot massage, and then getting more and more, massaging with lotion, and then if you wish to like suck on toes, maybe like try it progressively and just like see if you feel okay, if your partner feels okay. You don't want to like jump right into, you know, not crazy things, but like you don't want to jump right into like, you know, being like jerk me off with your feet and it's like what? Like hang on.
That is a lot to start with. I mean, maybe some people are game to, you know, go full feet first.
But,
like
great. Yeah.
but I think a massage is a great place to start. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we were talking about before about like how the media kind of portrays foot fetishes, and there are myths about it. There are truths about it. One of them being that people who have a foot fetish like small feet. Like that's the type of foot that is the ideal for anyone with a foot fetish. And it's like, I mean, you can tell right away, completely wrong.
Yeah, I feel like in general, most media tells us that this is so funny, but it's sort of like most things are meant to be smaller. Like that's how they tell us that. And the only thing that I can think of that goes against that is that penis size and breasts are supposed to be bigger. But like other than that, you know, they want people to be trim. They want women to be shorter. They want feet to be smaller. And that's boring.
It's just, and I agreed, it's boring and, you know, not the case. You know, people are into all sorts of different types of feet. It's not just like dainty feet that I can put in the palm of my hand. Like, it's not that at all.
Yeah.
The next myth that, you know, that is listed is that having a foot fetish is weird. But having this conversation is showing that it's not weird. You know,
and we know 1 in 7, right?
1 in 7, it's not uncommon.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a lot of people think that, like, if someone has a foot fetish, it's just like, here's my foot, ready to go. And it's like, no, like, it's not just feet. Like, it's shoes. People can like smelling shoes. People can like stockings and pantyhose. So it's like more than just like, here's my foot, goodbye. Like, no.
Here's my foot, goodbye.
Yeah. And like another thing is that, you know, people think like, oh, I have to like get a pedicure. I have to like rub off my calluses. And it's like, no, people could be into that. You know, like your feet don't necessarily have to be like this, you know, pristine foot that you like went to France to get a pedicure. Like, you know what I mean? Like people do like smelly feet. People do like feet that are calloused or, you know, that are,
well, that's good news for
dirty, but like maybe they do like, you know, things that are dirty. Like again, there's just like so many levels to this fetish.
I have very calloused heels. So I am appreciative of the fact that there's someone out there that appreciates that about me.
Yeah, I like having callous feet personally because it just like protects you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your skin is doing that for a reason. And it's
exactly.
Like, yeah, to like avoid blisters. And so if there's one thing I hate in life is having a blister on my foot. So it's like, yeah, I like for me, I'd be like, if I was talking to someone about this, I'd be like, here's the thing, here's my parameter. I am not decallousing my feet.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one.
I mean, maybe I would try it, you know, eventually, but like if I were just starting out, I'd be like, I don't want to do like any sort of painful exfoliation to my feet, you know, just given whatever.
Fair enough.
A lot of people think that like foot fetishes are, you know, happens only during sex. And as we talked about, it's not. It's also about intimacy. It's also about like if you want to massage feet, you know, it's not necessarily like most kinks, you know, a lot of kinks. It's not kept to just sex, you know.
No, extends beyond the bedroom for sure.
But let's just talk about what could happen in the bedroom or anywhere, which is a foot job. It's a lot of like fun, different things you can try. There's so many different positions, one being like, lying on your back and kind of like cupping your feet and, you know, kind of making jerking them off with your feet. You can use, like for women, you can use your toe on the clit. Like there's like so many different types of fun positions. So the easiest way to enjoy a foot job is having your partner lie on their back in a missionary style position. Their knees are apart, the soles of their feet are together. You could slide your feet between and like thrust your way to climax. You can go slow. You can come on someone's feet. Like there's so many different like different types of things you can use. Another thing is sitting on a chair and putting your feet up on a table or a desk. I think that is just like an easier way if you want to stand and thrust. That's great.
Oh, I kind of like that because I feel like if I was laying down holding my feet together, I feel like there'd be a lot of ab work involved.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to do that much work sometimes during
Sure.
sex.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. You want to obviously respect like someone's like physical limitations. Like if, you know,
Right.
it hurts to put yourself in that position. Like, yeah. Like, I mean, again,
of
I feel
course.
like a lot of the stuff that we're saying is a given. So as we mentioned earlier, having a foot fetish isn't just about sex. It's about, you know, intimacy or whatever you want. So some of these things, options in terms of that could be, again, a sensual massage. You got lotion, you got essential oils. It's all, you know, it's all
Hell
there
yeah.
for you. Another thing is you can give your partner a pedicure. Or you can ask your partner to give you a pedicure.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
See,
like
okay,
you said, like
maybe
if
I've been
quarantine,
doing this wrong. Maybe
yeah.
maybe I'm with you, and in that I don't have a foot fetish, but I need to be with somebody who does because they will take care of me and my feet.
Yeah, because I think, again, it's like you know, enjoy being worshipped. And it's like kind of, it gets you off. And I think like, absolutely. Another thing you can do is take foot photos. We all know that. You got so tucking, blah. Toe sucking.
So tucking, toe sucking.
Guys, I've been gone for a while. Give me a break.
I love it. You know what? I actually do remember seeing a movie like years ago, maybe in like the mid 90s, where there was actually toe sucking in it. And I was, first of all, way too young to be watching this movie. But secondly, was thinking, oh my gosh, why is somebody sucking on someone's toes? And then lo and behold, here we are 20 years later discussing toe sucking or suck toeing, whatever.
Yeah. I'm not going to live that down. Yeah, am I? Like, I'm going to be hearing that for the rest of my life. Yeah, it just reminds me, there was, you know, in the pilot to 6 Feet Under, there's like this, like in the first season, there's like the high school student, you know, is toe sucking or gets her toes sucked, and like this awful rumor gets spread around, and it's like that's like a huge thing, and it's like that was, you know, that could be an intro to someone's like what that fetish is, and it's like, oh yeah, and it's like, you know, it's a very compelling story, but it, you know, it's also like if you don't know that world is like, you know.
Yeah,
whatever.
and you have like a poor first experience too, that I mean, that could set the tone for not just that kink or fetish, but for any kink or fetish to yeah, I mean, too often we talk about like the shame or guilt that, you know, we often associate and place on people with kinks and fetishes. So this is not that kind of podcast. We are here to encourage all foot and body worship. What's all together.
Absolutely. And so if you're into degradation and foot play, obviously you can do some boot licking. Oh my God, what is wrong with me, guys?
Were you going to say Buddha licking?
Or that, you know, have a statue, it's fine. No, but like boot licking, I think that's like such a major thing as part of like, you know, degradation and foot play.
Yes.
You can also like, you know, straddle a boot and like if you're, you know, and like rub one off, that's great. If you're into tickling, that's another thing, obviously.
I'm so ticklish on my feet too.
Like same.
The bottoms of my feet, so ticklish.
Yeah. And again, like you can incorporate this into your dom sub play. You know, tell your sub what color you want to paint their nails, what jewelry they should use. Like, again, like this is just another way to explore that dynamic, which I think could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You can make foot porn. You can,
Ooh.
like we said, like dress them up, dress them down, tell your sub what you want to wear, or like how you want them to portray their feet. Again, like I said, sex positions, cover them with cum. There's also things you can do solo. There's so much foot porn out there. There's foot photos out there.
Yeah, OnlyFans,
Yeah.
baby. We know we've talked a lot about OnlyFans lately, and we have a lot of blog posts about the rise of OnlyFans and what's going on there. And you can bet that there is definitely a good amount of people out there creating content specifically for foot fetishes.
Yeah, and you can also ask for a custom foot fetish. Like if
Yes.
there's a specific style that you like, nails painted, nails not painted, jewelry, no jewelry, pantyhose and nylons or not. Like it's all, there's so many options out there. And, like any other sort of kink out there, you can search out others who have that kink on like various apps and websites. People know that. So yeah, I guess like I'm excited for everyone out there who's gonna try a foot fetish for the first time, or like this is like very exciting, and like this was also like very like eye opening to me as someone who does not have that fetish. So yeah, guys, have fun with feet.
Oh yeah.
Whether you're looking to buy or sell used panties, Sofia Gray has got you covered. If you want to earn some extra cash, you can set up your own shop in minutes and start selling your own used underwear. And they take no commission. You'll keep 100% of every single sale that you make.
If you've got a kink for used panties and you're looking to buy your next pair, look no further. The whole process is completely anonymous. Sofia Gray will never share, store, or archive your personal information. The name Sofia Gray won't even appear on your bank receipt. So head on over to sofiagray.com to start selling or buying used panties now.
If you're a fan of the podcast, we hope you'll subscribe on your favorite podcast streaming platform. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts to let us know what you think. And while you're at it, feel free to share your feedback or questions by sending an email to podcast@sofiagray.com. Until next time, I'm Tracy Buzz.
And I'm Lacey Bloom.
And we're here to say, let them be kinky. There is no kink shaming here.